The young and the restless, spoilers full. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is a beautiful day outside, the sun is shining, but honestly, things are incredibly dark and stormy in the soap world today. We have an absolute mountain of chaos to get through, so grab a huge cup of coffee and let us just dive straight into the madness that just went down on our screens. And I just have to start by taking a deep breath because I am still shaking from what we just watched. I have been covering this show for a long time. I have seen the highs, the lows, the absolute ridiculous storylines that make you want to throw your remote at the television. But today was something else entirely. We need to talk about Diane and Jack and Patty. Mostly Patty. Because what in the actual world were the writers thinking with this episode? I am honestly a bit tired. My eyes are burning from staring at the screen, but I care about these characters too much to just let this slide without a massive rant. So, let's be real for a second. We all knew Patty Williams was unhinged. We knew she was dangerous. But I don't think any of us, and I mean literally none of us, were prepared for the sheer level of horror that just played out in that creepy barred room. So let's set the scene, because it is just completely wild. A few episodes ago, we saw Diane wake up in this bizarre, unfamiliar room with bars on the windows. She was confused, she was terrified, and she was being gaslit out of her mind by Dr. Lawrence Markham, who kept telling her she had a mental breakdown. And we, the audience, know that Patty Williams is pulling the strings. Patty is paying off the doctor. Patty is blackmailing Jack. Patty is basically running Genoa City's underground hostage ring at this point. But nothing could have prepared Diane for the moment the door opens and she sees what Patty has actually brought into the room. It was Jack. Jack Abbott. Unconscious, vulnerable, and completely at the mercy of a woman who has spent decades being absolutely obsessed with him. And Patty isn't just standing there looking crazy. She has a syringe. A literal syringe filled with poison, and she is hovering over Jack like the Grim Reaper in a floral blouse. Just stop and think about that for a second. Imagine being Diane. You have been locked in a room, you don't know what day it is, you don't know who to trust, and suddenly the love of your life is dumped in front of you, and a certified psychopath is about to inject him with lethal poison. The sheer panic, the absolute terror. The camera zoomed in on Diane's face, and you could see every single ounce of color drain from her cheeks. It was a horrifying sight. Diane screaming, totally losing her mind as she watches this nightmare unfold. But Diane does not just sit there. And this is where I have to give her some credit, even if I haven't always loved how the writers handle her character. She didn't freeze. She didn't just cry. She lunged. Diane threw herself at Patty with everything she had to grab that needle. She literally threw her entire body weight at Patty to stop that poison from going into Jack's veins. It was a massive, chaotic, messy, physical altercation. And let me tell you guys, this fight scene was not pretty. It wasn't one of those polished, choreographed soap opera slaps where someone gracefully falls onto a couch. No. This was brutal. This was two women fighting for a man's life, fighting for survival. They were grabbing at each other, tearing at clothes, slamming into the walls. The camera work was shaky, making you feel the complete chaos of the moment. You could hear them gasping for air, the sound of their shoes scraping against the floor. But here is the absolute tragic reality of this situation. Diane is tough. She has survived a lot in Genoa City. But Diane is not Patty Williams. She just isn't. Patty has been through the ringer. Patty has survived mental institutions. She has survived being on the run. She has survived God knows how many physical altercations over the years. Patty is so incredibly used to fighting. She has this hysterical, unhinged, adrenaline-fueled strength that a normal person just cannot match. Diane was fighting out of love and desperation. Patty was fighting out of pure delusional madness. And madness usually wins in a physical brawl. I was sitting there yelling at the screen. Get the needle, Diane. Just step on it. Kick it away. But the struggle was just too much. The syringe was being pushed back and forth between them. You could see the poison sloshing around inside the plastic tube. It was terrifying. And then, the moment that is going to be burned into my brain forever. Patty overpowers her. Patty, with this terrifying blank look in her eyes, manages to yank her arm back, gaining the upper hand. And, she stabs the needle right into Diane's neck. I literally gasped. I dropped my notebook. I just sat there staring at the television in complete and utter disbelief. Did they really just do that? Did Patty Williams really just inject Diane Jenkins Abbott with lethal poison right in the jugular? The visual was so shocking. Short punches. Just brutal. Absolutely brutal. You see the needle go in, you see Patty push the plunger down with zero hesitation, and you see the immediate, horrific shock on Diane's face. The poison enters her bloodstream so fast. You guys, it was so fast. Diane's eyes went wide, her hands flew up to her neck, and she just started gasping. She couldn't breathe. The life was literally being instantly drained out of her. And the writers, the writers, they are so cruel for how they timed what happened next. Because right at that exact second, right as the poison is rushing through Diane's body and she is collapsing toward the floor, Jack wakes up. Of course he does. Of course, Jack wakes up right at the exact moment to witness the most traumatic thing a human being could possibly see. What were they thinking? Who actually believes this is going to end well for Jack's mental state? He groggily opens his eyes. You can see the confusion on his face. The drugs in his own system are wearing off. He is trying to focus his vision. And the very first thing he sees, the very first image that registers in his brain, is his wife, the woman he loves, the woman he has fought so hard to build a life with again, falling to the floor dying. It was a terrible, terrible scene. The kind of scene that makes you feel sick to your stomach. Diane hits the floor. She is convulsing. She is choking. And then she is just gone. The light completely leaves her eyes. Diane Jenkins Abbott is dead. Again. I mean, yes, she faked her death years ago, and we all remember that whole messy storyline. But this wasn't fake. This wasn't a scheme. This was cold-blooded murder right in front of our eyes. Jack's reaction is something I am never going to forget. Peter Bergman deserves every single award for this episode. Every single one of them. Jack realizes what is happening. He realizes that Diane is dead. And he just breaks. He crawls over to her body. His hands are shaking. He is grabbing her shoulders, begging her to wake up. And then he screams. It wasn't just a normal scream. It was this guttural, agonizing, primal roar of a man whose entire world has just been violently ripped apart. He is screaming over the lifeless body of his wife. The echo of his voice in that small, barred room was haunting. It was so raw. It felt entirely too real for a Tuesday afternoon soap opera. I am honestly still tearing up just thinking about the sound he made. He is holding her, rocking her, completely destroyed. And what does Patty do? What does the mastermind behind all this suffering do after committing murder and destroying the Abbott family? She faints. I am not kidding you guys. I am not making this up. Patty Williams, after wrestling Diane to the ground and injecting her with poison, suddenly looks a bit dizzy, sighs, and just passes out on the floor. She faints from exhaustion. She literally takes a nap after committing a homicide. I mean, let's be real. That is the most frustrating, classic soap opera trope ever. The villain does something incredibly horrific and then conveniently loses consciousness so they don't have to face the immediate screaming wrath of the person they just traumatized. Jack is sitting there screaming his lungs out, his wife is dead in his arms, and Patty is just snoozing on the linoleum because the cardio was a bit too much for her. I wanted to reach through the screen and shake her. It is just so absurd, but also so perfectly fitting for how Patty's character has always operated. She causes maximum destruction and then retreats into her own little physical or mental escape. But zooming out for a second, what does this mean for the bigger picture? What does this mean for the show? Because we have to remember the context of everything else going on. The timeline is completely chaotic right now. We know from the spoilers and the recent episodes that Patty and Dr. Markham have also kidnapped Ashley's daughter Abby and her grandson Dominic. Ashley is already losing her mind over that. And now Jack has lost Diane. The Abbott family is being systematically destroyed by Patty Williams. Why does Patty always get away with this level of violence? I know she is mentally ill. I know she has a deep history of trauma, but at what point do the writers say enough is enough? She poisoned Summer years ago. She has terrorized people. And now she has actually killed Diane. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe Patty is just a tragic figure. Okay, that sounded dramatic, but you get what I mean. She is a villain, but she is a villain that the show refuses to permanently deal with. And now the consequences are fatal. And what about Jack? Who actually believes Jack is going to survive this with his sanity intact? He was already being blackmailed by Patty for sex just to find out where Diane was. He was already desperate. Now he has to live with the visual of Diane dying right in front of his eyes. He is going to blame himself. He is going to think that if he had just woken up 10 seconds earlier, he could have stopped Patty. He could have taken the needle. The guilt is going to completely consume him. We are going to see a very dark, very broken Jack Abbott in the coming weeks. I honestly don't even know how the rest of the characters are going to react to this. Kyle is going to be devastated. Tracy is going to be heartbroken. We saw Tracy confronting Patty in the park, threatening her, trying to get answers. Tracy knew Patty was up to something evil. And now, Tracy's worst fears have come true. It just feels like this storyline has shifted into a gear that is so incredibly dark. The show usually balances the corporate drama with the romance and the occasional kidnapping. But this? A lethal injection in a padded cell while the husband watches? That is horror movie territory. It feels different. It feels heavier. I am sitting here typing this out. My hands are still a bit shaky, and I just keep replaying that moment. The needle. Diane's gasp. Jack's scream. It was a perfectly executed scene, even if I hate the outcome. The acting was top tier, the tension was suffocating, but the loss of Diane, again, is going to be a massive pill for the fans to swallow. The fans on social media are already losing their minds. My timeline is flooded with all caps tweets and crying emojis. People are furious. People are shocked. So, where do we go from here? Jack is trapped in a room with his dead wife and the unconscious murderer. The police have to get involved, right? Detective Burrow has to finally do his job. But even if Patty is arrested, even if she is locked away in a high-security facility forever, the damage is done. Diane is gone. The Abbott family is shattered. I need a break. I really do. I need to process this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you as devastated as I am? Do you think Diane is actually dead? Or is there some insane soap opera medical miracle waiting in the wings? I doubt it, but you never know. Until next time, take care of yourselves, because this show is definitely not taking care of our blood pressure.